I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to be a mum for a very long time. Certainly when I was much younger, I didn't want to be a mum. And then as I grew older, I thought about it, and Nick thought about it, and then we arrived, at the same time, at the same decision that we wanted to be parents. Luckily, because I know people who don't arrive at that. And so when we arrived at that decision, which happened very quickly, we had an absolutely unsurmountable battle to make that a reality. And I went through IVF with the attitude of, well, if this doesn't happen, I'll have to accept that, but let's give it a go. And we both did, and we were absolutely lucky in that it happened the very first time. And so I became a mum. I knew the downsides of having a child. I knew how difficult it was to have a child, and in my 20s I most definitely did not want that to happen. I had a fantastic life, I still do, but I had the kind of life where I travelled a lot. We lived abroad, overseas, in Asia, and we went travelling, and we were studying, and then we came back, and I was working, and we went off and did fantastic things and saw fantastic things across the world. I wouldn't have sacrificed that for anything. I'm still so thankful that I was able to do that. Elsie was premature, and so she was in the special care unit when she was born. I didn't leave that hospital with Elsie, and that was difficult. It was a difficult 6 weeks when she was in there, but then she came out, and felt like being on not a treadmill. It was one hurdle, overcome that, next one, overcome that, throughout the whole process of becoming a parent and thereafter. And suddenly I was with my baby in the house, and I just loved it. I didn't particularly identify with being a mum in that, I knew people who did mum things, mum groups and mum this and mum that, and I never wanted that. This thing happened so very recently, and it was an absolute bolt out of the blue. And the thing that's been the most difficult thing has been the fact that there are times where I cannot do things with Elsie. Quite mundane, everyday things that you do as a mum. It's now the start of March. Nothing had happened to me. I'd never heard of this, wasn't part of my world until the very last week in October. So that's only 3-4 months ago. And I woke up and couldn't see anything. I couldn't walk. There were lots of things that I couldn't do. I basically could not even cross my living room. I could not pick Elsie up. I was sitting on the floor for a few days where I couldn't pick her up. And I couldn't tell Elsie why I couldn't take her for a walk or things like that, and I didn't know what it was. I just didn't know what it was. I'd heard the words multiple sclerosis, but I'd not really thought about it. The difficult thing is how I do this, how I cope with Elsie, because the guilt that I feel is incredible. Because I know it's not my fault, but she doesn't understand why I can't do things. Well, yeah, I am disabled now, technically. I tick a box. When he first told me, I thought, okay, well, that's it. I'll just deal with that, and they'll give me a few tablets, and that's it. I'll just carry on. Because that's the way I deal with most things, really. But it's been an absolute shock. I didn't realise It's so easy to just look at it and think, oh, well, you're all right, you're not in a wheelchair. You've not got, actually somebody said, you've not got cancer, at least you've not got cancer. There was so much that I took for granted. And I had a very nice, not a very nice life. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and and I fought quite hard to do those things that, you know, other people would have probably thought were absolute nonsense, and why would you want to? And I want Elsie to have that as well. I don't think Elsie will see me. I used to do Latin American dancing a lot, and I loved it, and I know that I won't be able to do that again. And that's been the most awful thing, and she'll never see me do that. Yeah, there are certain things that I've always been able to do, but then again, I suppose you could argue that if I was a younger mum then. But having said that, I've seen girls of 18, 19 years of age come out of my consultant's room in the first year of university, and they've got this, and they've not been able to travel and have the life that I've had up to now. So that's an awful thing. That's an awful thing. So, you know, I mean, Elsie may not see me do things, but that's something I'm going to have to live with.